that time again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. My name is Deborah, and I'm coming to you from here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, where I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I like to do needlework. I'll try any craft once and twice if I like it. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local four-year university, where I teach majors classes in physics, astrophysics, which is what my background is, meteorology, and also science literacy and how to be public scholars. I volunteer to do planetarium shows for school groups, and I also do star programs for my local state park as well. And last but not least, I am a farmer. I'm a third-generation family farmer here on this land that my family's lived on for over a century. And I raise grass-fed beef cattle. I also raise horses. I have heritage poultry. I have show-quality rabbits. And I have a small but mighty rescue herd of miniature horses, miniature donkeys, and a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost. And as you can tell from my nosy little podcast buddy here, Willie, I am fur kid mom to 14 dogs, 6 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside barn cats. So if any or all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope that you'll join me here for episode 31 of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for me on social media, my farm Facebook page is the same as my YouTube channel names. It is Buckthorn Farms. You can also find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Doc Firewoman. And there is a Ravelry group for the podcast, Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, where you can find out about Makealongs and giveaways and just some general chit-chat on there. And you can also find me on Twitter, but fair warning, I am a big old liberal snowflake, and Twitter is the place where I vent my political views, and if that kind of stuff gives you heartburn, then you might not want to follow me on Twitter. But otherwise, I keep everything else kind of to a minimum everywhere else, so you can find us there. Also, I am very often found on the A Crocheting Whovians podcast, her virtual knit night, which meets on Friday evenings. You can go check her Ravelry group out, or contact her and follow her on Instagram to find out more about the virtual knit nights there. It's a really great place to go if you've got questions or need help with something, and I find that I get a lot more knitting done being part of that virtual community there. So it's a great place to go and find help too if you need it. So do go check out our different social media sites. And also, let me tell you a little bit about our Makealongs. If you've been on my Ravelry group in the last 24 hours, you've noticed that I've updated it with information about 3 of the knit-alongs I plan on hosting in the next year. But first, the ones we have going on that run until the end of December, so December 31st, a little over a month away. The first one is the Share the Warmth, or Spread the Warmth, I've been kind of calling it both things, Makealong, and that is a charity Makealong where we are aiming to make things to spread or share literal warmth or figurative warmth, and there have been some great things posted in there already. Lots of really warm hats, it looks like. There have been some beautiful shawls that have been given as gifts to in the name of charity. Beautiful scarves, all kinds of toys. So charity is pretty wide open what you want to post in there. And I actually moved my hat, but my friend Carol and I are planning when I get out of school after our winter commencement, we're going to go do some yarn bombing and take some hats and some scarves to the downtown area of one of the bigger towns and leave them for people who might need a warm hat or a warm scarf to find, I think. The other Makealong that is going on is the I Am Worth It Makealong. And the I Am Worth It Makealong, the spirit of that is you have some special yarn or a special pattern or some fabric or something that you have set aside is like, one of these days I'm going to make X, Y, or Z for myself. and somehow that day never comes. So the idea behind this make-along is let's get started on it anyway. Even if we don't finish it, let's get started and do something good for ourselves, because you absolutely cannot pour from an empty cup. And I've been talking about that with some friends about that this very week, about how, you know, self-care is really important. There was actually a bit of a controversial post on Facebook, imagine that, where someone had reported a case of animal cruelty, and it was very graphic, and it was horrible, of course. It made me sick, and I cried after I read it. But someone responded, I am really considering getting off of Facebook for a while because I just can't take seeing these posts. And if you do any kind of animal rescue, or you fostered, or follow any of these pages, sometimes you just get bombarded with it. And someone attacked this person saying, if you ignore this, you're part of the problem. And I contacted the woman who had made the original post regarding the incident, and I said, you know, it's not fair when someone says they've done all they can do to attack them. Sometimes you do, in the case of self-preservation, or in the case of needing to do self-care, have to step back a little bit and recharge your batteries. What you got, Wally? Oh, you found a spool. Okay. Okay. Wally's in here today with me too. There is nothing wrong with stepping back and allowing yourself time to heal and repair your psyche and your emotions. Because if you just keep pushing, and you just keep pushing, and you just keep pushing, you are going to come apart at the seams, and you're going to either lash out at your family or friends, or you're going to harm yourself, is what's going to happen. So there is nothing wrong with someone taking a step back. They are not part of the problem. If they're taking a step back to allow themselves to heal, they are not part of the problem. They are fully aware of what the problems are, and they may be working in other ways. So I really got upset about that, as you can tell. But anyway, the I Am Worth It Make-Along, the spirit of that is you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and doing for others and doing for others, and not doing for yourself. I know a lot of us by nature are givers and doers and helpers, and that's wonderful, and we need you to be okay. We all need to take care of ourselves, because this world needs those people now more than ever. We need healers in this world now more than ever. So let's take care of ourselves just a little bit. I'm not saying you've got to finish it. You just have to make a start. Just get started. Willie, you're just wiggly as can be today. Okay, we've got storms coming, and I think all the dogs can sense it, and they're kind of fidgety tonight, or this afternoon. Okay, so that's my two current make-alongs. Both of those end on December the 31st, but I have posted about some new make-alongs that are starting after the 1st of the year. So those make-alongs include the following. The first one is the Creature Feature Make-Along, which I'm going to be co-hosting with Laura from the A Crocheting Whovian podcast. And it's going to be making amigurumis. And we have quarterly themes. You don't have to follow the theme. It's just if you do follow the theme, you get a bonus entry for the quarter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away a pattern each quarter. And then at the end, I'm going to open a final FO thread where there'll be one post per participant with all the things that they've done in one post. And then I'll draw for a physical prize at that point. So I hope that that sounds okay to everybody. I know that I enjoy getting patterns, so hopefully that doesn't make me sound like a cheapskate. I just thought it would be simpler if we did it that way. Then the next one that I am doing is the Kit Her Get Her Done. And I'm not a big fan of Larry the Cable Guy, honestly, but I thought it seemed appropriate. I was calling this the Kit Along, but I thought Kit Her Get Her Done would be good. So Get Her Done is let's get some kits done. Whips are allowed. If you started a kit a long time ago, they're allowed. And any kind of kit. It can be any craft. It can be crochet, knit, sewing, quilting, baskets, needlework, decoupage. I don't care. As long as when you got it, it was in the form. Get out of that. Get out of that. You don't need it in there. Get out of my bag. In the form of a kit, then that counts. And what I'm going to do with that is there's just going to be one big thread, and I'm periodically randomly going to draw for prizes through that. And I don't know if they'll be physical prizes or patterns. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to do, again, one big FO post where you can post photographs of everything you've gotten done, and I'll draw from that one FO thread, because it'll be one post per participant with all the pictures in one post, and I'll give away a grand prize or maybe a couple of prizes. It depends on what I come up with between now and the end of next year. Okay, then the last one, and I thought I brought my paper. I guess I didn't. Well, I had it, but I don't know what I did with it. The last one that I'm going to do, I came up with this brainstorm. Shirley from my virtual knitting group had posted something about doing an alphabet make-along, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And then I was sitting there looking, and I had a copy of the Farmer's Almanac beside me. And I thought, I'm going to do a Farmer's Almanac make-along. Yeah, for the farm gal, right? What a perfect idea. So what I'm going to do is the Farmer's Almanac, when you read it, it's chocked full of wonderful, useful, and sometimes trivial information, but there's tons of things. Like the Farmer's Almanac that I have has all kinds of weather information, has all kinds of astronomical and astrological information. It's got information about when you should plant your crops, and when you should cut your hair, and when you should wean your calves, and when you should geld your colts, and all this different stuff. Plus, it has tons of cool, every day they have either like they always have like a holiday that's that day from all kinds of different religious backgrounds or cultural backgrounds. Then they have some cool information of something that happened on that day. So what I think I will do is the 15th of the month prior, so like December the 15th, I will make a post about some of the things that I pulled out of reading about January. And I'll put those in, you know, a nice little educational post. Can't help but be educational, right? And then you can make anything, and it's going to be crochet and knit along, I think is what I limited it to, or crochet fiber arts, I think, but I don't remember. I may have put sewing in there. If I did, that's fine. Go read the post. But if you can make the case that your finished object follows the theme, then you get an entry. Okay, and it's going to be a chatter / finished object thread. So again, I will draw by pictures, and I'm going to do 12 monthly drawings for patterns, and then one big drawing prize at the end for everybody. And that one, I'll just open an FO thread, and you can put one object in there that was your favorite thing that you did all year, and put that in there, and then I'll draw from that. I hope that makes sense. You can go and read about all of those. I've already got the introductory posts, and they're stickied to the top of my forum group. So go read about those, and those will all run for the entire calendar year. I'm still going to do some smaller ones along the way, some charity ones obviously, and maybe a couple of other ones, but those are the ones that are going to run all year long next year. Now, I would like to share with you some of my friends, their knit-alongs, or make-alongs. The first one that I will share, Vanessa from A Historian Knits has 2 make-alongs going, but one of them ends December 1st, which is probably going to be when this goes live, so you won't be able to enter it. But her other one is, if you make any of her patterns, she has 4 sock patterns out, 2 pay-for patterns and 2 free patterns. If you make any of her patterns between now and December 31st, you can enter in the drawing for a prize. Also, Laura from the Crocheting Whovian and Jessica from Army Wife Knitting Life are co-hosting the Sensational Stripes make-along, where you have to enter something that's stripes. It can be socks, it can be a shawl, it can be a hat, but it has to have clearly distinct stripes. It can't be a fade, it can't be marl, you know, whatever. You know what a stripe is. Y'all can do that. That runs until the end of the year, and they each have in their Ravelry group a thread to post, so you can double dip, but you have to follow both of their podcasts. So you have to subscribe to both of their podcasts. And I think that's a nice thing to do anyway. Laura also has a couple of other knit-alongs that are coming to the end for the year. And one of them I know is the Year of the Sock, where you can post the socks that you've been making all year long. And you can post those in her thread and participate in that make-along. And then last but not least, Maria has a knit-along going for her from Ninja Chickens for her Serious Socks. It runs through December 21st, which is the winter solstice. So go check those people out and give them some love. They're all great podcasts. They're all... I'm proud to call all of them friends. They're all my kind of gals. So go check them all out. I also want to announce a new podcast that's going to be coming up. Nikki, my friend Nikki from the Virtual Knitting Group, is starting the Knick Knack podcast. I don't believe she's published her first episode yet, but be looking for it this week. It's going to drop this week. And go check her podcast out too. I think you'll enjoy seeing what she's making. She's a very prolific knitter and crocheter, so I think you'll enjoy seeing that. So go give her some love too. Okay, so that's all the social media make-along information. So now we're going to move on to finished objects. All right. Okay, I have a few finished objects to show. I was off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of the week of Thanksgiving here in the States. And so I think I'm finally starting to come out of my funk because I'm feeling very energetic and productive. I'm still probably not going to do a lot of decorating for the holidays simply because I want to paint my kitchen cabinets and I've got some old barn tin I want to put up on the walls, but we'll talk more about that later. But I did get quite a few things done. The first thing that I will do is show you my blocks from my Marine Life blanket. I've completed 2 blocks and started a third. So this one is my Manta Ray. Okay, I had showed it in progress last time. This is probably one of my favorite ones so far. I kind of held these all up and I noticed my crab block is huge compared to the rest of them. My octopus block is smaller than the rest of them because I think the yarn that I used for the background was actually a little thinner than worsted. So I'm going to actually have to crochet around the outside of it to make it a little bit bigger. The crab, I'm just going to cheat a little bit when I put them together and kind of come in a row and pick up stitches instead of picking up right on the edge to do the borders. Then I don't think you've seen this one at all. I started and finished this one within a couple of days. This is my orcas. Okay, so there's my orcas. Got those finished. I love that one too. I love orcas. I have some earrings that I got when I went to Seattle that says, according to a particular Native American tribe in the Pacific Northwest, if you are very good in your life, when you die, you'll come back as an orca. So I like that idea. Now what have you got? Piece of paper? No, okay. It's always something with these guys. I also finished, you want down? You gonna get down? Okay, get down. No, don't be hateful. Don't be hateful. There you go. Y'all be friends. I also finished the baby blanket. Yay! I finished the baby blanket for my neighbors. And I need to get it washed and get the ends woven in, but I wanted to show it to you guys before I gave it to them. The baby is due, I think she said, in 4 weeks. I actually had I talked to them day before yesterday. I had a cow out. Well, had a calf out. A lot of people who drive by here apparently don't understand the difference between a cow and a calf, and I had a little bull calf getting out, and because there's still a little bit of green stuff on the side of the road, and I fixed the hole where he was getting out, but I had called Debbie, the woman who's going to be the grandmother, and she drove over to look. Well, then they came back to look just to double check later, and I was actually out on the tractor putting out hay, and I visited with them for a little while. So she said the baby was due in 4 weeks, so it's going to be a Christmas baby. So I got the little blanket done. I need to get that washed and blocked so I can give that to them. I'm going to put that with a little beard beanie and one of my little dragon loveys that you saw those in an earlier episode, to give them as a gift for the baby. So that's exciting. Another thing that I did is I finished some more feed sack bags. I won't spend a lot of time showing these because you kind of got the idea of what they look like. But I made 5 more bags for different people. And I like reusing the bags. So these birdseed bags are especially pretty, I think. They've got some beautiful pictures on them, and the colors are very, very bright. So this one's pretty deep, so I kind of went a little crazy with the size on it. And then also I use dog food bags. People give me plastic dog food bags. And then chicken food. So I got 5 more bags made. I've got to get those in the mail to the people from my, these are all Christmas gifts for people from my virtual knitting group. So I've got to get those in the mail to them probably on the 15th because I had to go get the windshield replaced in my car. I will confess, I've been driving with a broken windshield for quite a while, and the local constabulary let me know it's probably a good idea that I get it fixed. So I went and got it fixed. Okay, so I got those finished. Another object that Mr. Tooth's is sitting in. Now, I don't do Elf on the Shelf for Christmas. I do Mr. Tooth's Yuletide T-Rex. So you will see Mr. Tooth's throughout Vlogmas, which starts tomorrow. You will see Mr. Tooth's making many a cameo during our Vlogmas episode. So this is Mr. Tooth's, the Yuletide T-Rex, but he is sitting in my Beanpot Basket. I took a class at Lake Dardanelle State Park a couple of weekends ago, and we learned to make this Beanpot Basket. And I learned a lot of new techniques because this bottom is different than anything that I've ever done before. So I was pretty excited to learn to do this round lashed bottom, which Sasha said was pretty well the basis of most round baskets like this, to do that kind of lashed bottom. So it's got a metal bail. I'm actually going to stain this. I bought some stain at the feed store the other day it's just wood stain. It's called red cedar. I think I'm going to stain this, or red oak. It's called red oak. I'm going to try staining this basket because I think it'll make it look neat. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, and I always sign the bottom of my basket so that someday people will know who made them. But anyway, so that was one of our basket classes from Lake Dardanelle State Park that my friend Sasha led, and I am eagerly looking at ordering some more basket kits. I have a couple that I have an eye on. I've got to get some baskets made for Christmas gifts too, so I need to get on that. Okay, a couple of other finished objects. I actually finally finished in my periodic table bag by Tesla Knits. I have at last, long last, finished. Oh, are they not in here? They're not in here. I'll be right back. I know where they're at. Hang on. They were not in my Tesla Knits periodic table bag. They were in my Natural Wonders of the World book. It's an old Reader's Digest book that I have had since I was in 4th grade. And there's a story about why they're in this book. They are in, well, I'll just show you the socks first. I need to weave in my ends. I haven't done that yet. And I didn't put them on sock blockers, but here they are. These are the Couch and Crackers socks by Julia from the Happy Knitting Podcast. And I will pull this apart where you can see the little texture, the little X pattern in there that looks like the pattern on a cracker. And these are made from Craftsy. The main sock is Craftsy Cloudborn fingering in the colorway Josh's Cat, and then this really pretty pumpkin color was a mini that was gifted to me by Heidi from Undead Yarn. So I had enough to do the heels and most of part of the ribbing. I would have had more, but for some reason my cats thought that it was their toy and they took off with it twice. One time I had to chase the cat down the hall with it in her mouth. She climbed up underneath the bed and got in the box spring. So I'm under the bed wiggling around, and I am not a small woman. I was wiggling around under that bed trying to get that little bit of ball of yarn back from that cat. But anyway, so there's those socks. This is my first attempt to do a contrast heel, and this is actually not the heel from the pattern. This is the German short row heel as written up in Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expats sock patterns, because I like how that heel fits me. And I've been hearing a lot about how afterthought heels are not as deep, and I think I need a little bit of a deeper heel, so that's why I went ahead and used the German short row heel on that. So these are actually probably, as far as the gauge and the size goes, the best pair of socks I've ever made. Okay, these actually fit my foot really, really well, and I'm very pleased with that. I went down to ones, and I also paid much more careful attention to my tension, but that's you can see the pattern maybe a little bit better there. Anyway, so those are the Couch and Cracker socks by Julia from the Happy Knitting Podcast. And they were marked on the page. They were in the page that has the Grand Canyon in this book. Because I had to do a little bit of lesson teaching about the value of the wonder, the archaeological wonder that is the Grand Canyon. And yes, Laura, I'm talking to you. It is an archaeological wonder. It is the cross-section of the geological history of the earth. It's a wonder. She knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so that's why they were in my book and not in my bag. So I finished those. And then last but not least, you haven't even seen this as a work in progress either, because in my little cute Halloween Spotters bag by a Magpie Knits, who is Agatha out of Shreveport. She's a friend of mine also from the virtual knitting group. I started and finished the She Rises hat by Risen Knits, and look, it fits. It doesn't come down to here. Yay! So what I did was, taking a lesson from my previous one that was more like a poncho than a hat, I actually went down to I think the pattern calls for a 7 overall. I knit my ribbing on 4s, and I knit the body of the hat on 6s. And I'm very pleased with that texture, and I'm pleased with the fit. So I'm very happy with that. Yay! This yarn was a gift from Mary, a Mary Knitter, So Mary Knitter. She has been a very wonderful person for me to get to know, and has been extremely supportive of my podcast. Her daughter is the one who is on the board of the Cure CMD, Congenital Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, which is a great nonprofit. Go check it out. She has donated a lot of beautiful prizes to give away for those Makealongs. She donated bags, and also the yarn and patterns for the knitted knockers. So those will all be prizes you will get. But she sent me this beautiful skein of yarn. This is called Cat Pink. It's by BAYOU Yarns, and it is dyed in honor of Kat Coyle, who was instrumental in the Women's March and in the Welcome Blanket Project. And I hold this hat so dear because of all of those reasons. And I am so tickled with how it fits. I am super, super, super duper happy. This is the She Rises hat by Risen Knits, and it's got these little, there's either flowers or women's fists raised in protest, however you want to say it. Either way, I like both. So I'm very pleased with my hat. So thank you, Mary, for this beautiful yarn. I have quite a bit left, so I'm probably going to incorporate it also into a shawl or something as well, because I want to use up every last little bit. She also gave me this really cool women's scientist bag that you can see right back there. So I feel very honored that she thought enough of me to do those very, very, very kind things for me. So anyway, so those are my finished objects for this week. So I'm pretty pleased with myself over that. And so now we're going to move on to works in progress. Okay, the first work in progress I'm going to show you is actually no longer in progress. In my April 9 Designs alpacas bag, I was working on the We Were Seeds shawl by Risen Knits also. I love this shawl. It's a very easy to follow pattern. I can say nothing but good things about it. And I was knitting it out of the Honeybee Knits Tits Out Collective colorway yarn called Be Positive. And if you'll notice, I frogged it. I took it with me this morning. I haven't worked on it in several weeks, months probably, really. I took it with me this morning thinking, okay, I've got 2 hours to sit at the windshield place. I'm going to work on this. And I started doing on it, and I realized that I had made some mistakes. And I sat there and I sat and looked at it for about 30 minutes. And this yarn is beautiful. And this pattern is beautiful, but they are not beautiful together. The yarn variegation does not allow the pattern to speak. And I felt like the yarn deserves a pattern that allows it to be fully appreciated, and the pattern deserves a yarn that will allow it to be fully appreciated. And so I just decided I'm going to frog it. And so I did. And I'm not sad about it. I'm not upset about it. I'm glad that I did it, because that means I've gotten everything off my plate except the 2 works in progress that I'm going to show you, so I can go into the new year with a clean slate. I hope, mostly a clean slate. So anyway, so I am going to knit that shawl, but I need to find a yarn that will suit the pattern with all the detail of the pattern more, and I need to find a pattern that will suit that beautiful yarn more. And so that's the first thing. So it's really technically not a work in progress. It is done. So, okay. My next work in progress is in my beautiful Silver Shed USA Christmas Reindeers bag. That was a gift from Laura. I got to do the holiday bag swap with her, and she was my swap partner. And so I got this beautiful bag from her. And then she also sent me this needle cozy from April 9 Designs. It's a Notions pouch and needle cozy combo that I use on this. I forgot to stick my needles back in there when I got done. Actually, I think they stopped me in the middle of the row is what they did at the place. So, this is the Boneyard shawl by Stephen West. It is a stockinette shawl. I'm in the middle of a row again. It's a stockinette shawl, but every so often you knit back instead of purl back, so you get these garter bumps. Okay, it's just a very basic, simple pattern, but it is great for taking with you knitting, or knitting in for social knitting or whatever. I am knitting this out of Leon Alexander yarns. This is an exclusive colorway to the yarn shop in Conway, Arkansas. It's called Party on Prince Street, and this is their Duke DK base. So I love how the colorway is knitting up. It feels really nice. It's going to be beautiful with that. And so I'm just chugging along. I'm almost to the end of my first ball. So I'm going to work on this probably in virtual knit night tonight, although I may work on my other thing that I've got sitting over here too. But this will see some love this weekend for sure, because I'd like to get this done so I can wear it. Because it is coming on to winter here, even though you couldn't tell it today. Outside it's 72 degrees outside right now, which is bad, because this feels like it is just going to bust loose storming at any minute outside. But anyway, so that is my Boneyard shawl by Stephen West. Free. It's also a free pattern on Ravelry. You can pick that up for free. And it is a little more sedate, one of his patterns. It's not as what's the right word? Elaborate, I guess, is things like Exploration Station or the new Texture Time Mystery Knit Along. I've seen that shawl, and I think it really depends on, there's an optional border, and boy, I really like it with the optional border. I don't like it without the optional border. I really like the ones that have the optional border on it. But anyway, so that's in my Silver Shed USA reindeer's bag. Okay, my other work in progress is it's not in a bag. It's wrapped up in this sarong that I dug out of a box of vending stuff when I used to vend years ago at different New Age events. And it smells really good still because of that. It was in that box. But this is my block for this week's Marine Life crochet along. And the reason it's not in a bag is I've got 6 different colors of yarn attached to this block, because this week's block is, I've been calling it the Dory and Nemo block. It's the clownfish and the angelfish block. I'm not quite halfway through on it, but I'm getting there. And I'm trying to keep these yarns all together without them swarming on me. And this is, whoops, I'll drop my hook anyway. This is how far I am. I'm not quite halfway. I think I'm on row 21. 25 is the longest row on the bias, and then you go back the other way. So I'm not quite halfway done on it, but I'm getting close. So I want to try to at least get to the turning point, maybe a little bit past it today if I can. Yeah, but I'm loving how that's working up. So one more block. Next week's block is our last one, and then she sends us the directions on how to put them all together. And I got a jumbo skein of Red Heart in a dark navy blue color to put them all together with, because I haven't used that one for any of my backgrounds. All my backgrounds are different. I know that some people were doing them all the same, but I wanted all mine to be different. Which is probably why my blocks are all different sizes too. So, but I'll take care of that. It's no big deal. Alright, so I'm going to wrap that back up. So those are my works in progress. I've only got 2 because I finished quite a few things, and I've got some things coming up that we'll talk about in the next section. So let's move on to future crafting. Okay, so yeah, so what have I kind of got coming up on the foreseeable forecast here? So the first thing is in my Erin Lane Designs bag, and this was also a gift from Laura from the Crocheting Whovian podcast. I love what this says. She said that reminded me, that those words reminded her of me. So I was very honored by that. I am going to knit the 88 miles per hour socks by Vanessa from the A Historian Knits podcast. This is one of her, I believe this is her, one of her free patterns that you can get. And I am going to knit this out of some yarn that she actually gave me as a gift. It is the cheeseburger striped sock yarn by Artistic Yarns by Abby. By Artistic Yarns by Abby. Okay. And this is what it looks like. Alright. I've got it skeined up or wound up. I just haven't started them yet. And then I'm going to knit the heels, toes, and cuffs out of this mini from Shipwrecked Sheep, and this is a colorway called Cheddar. So I'm going to probably try to cast those on this weekend. I want to try to get them finished by the end of December so that I can put them both in this Sensational Stripes Makealong and also in the A Historian Knits pattern collection Makealong as well. So I'll try to get those started. Then I believe it's released on December the 5th, the Midwinter Moon Mystery Knit Along by Larissa Brown. I did her Moon Phase Mystery Knit Along back at the beginning of the year, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm a sucker for things about the moon anyway. So when I was at the East Texas Fiber Festival, I bought these from Potion Yarns to do that. I've got to get these wound up probably this weekend because that first clue will be coming out on Wednesday. These are all by Potion Yarns. This is her Dryad sock base, which is an MCN base, and this is Ancient Ritual. It's kind of a dark tealish green. This is her Foxy sock base, which is 80/20 superwash merino nylon, and this is Dread Pirate Roberts. I love this color. Okay, and then this is her Fairy Wing fingering, which is 80 superwash merino, 20% silk, and this is a colorway called Magic Mermaid. And so the idea behind it was supposed to be the night sky, the moon, and then the moonlight on the night sky. So I think those three will achieve exactly the look I'm hoping for in that shawl. So I can't wait to get started on that. I've got to get those wound up so that I can get started this weekend. I need to go ahead and put those in a project bag, so I'm just going to leave them out and do that. Then on December 1st, I am actually hopefully going to make the World Peace Day cowl. It's a knit along that goes from, I believe, the 1st until I think it's the 20th or 21st. It's a cowl pattern that's released in stages. It's supposed to be for sport weight yarn, but I'm going to use this. This is kind of a bouncy fingering weight yarn. This is that alpaca yarn I got at East Texas Fiber Festival. It is a pattern by, let's see, I wrote down here, Christina Campbell, and the proceeds from the pattern go to different organizations that promote worldwide peace, which Lord knows we need more of that. But anyway, so I'm going to try to also participate in that. That clue comes out tomorrow, so I definitely need to get this wound up, don't I? It looks like I need to be winding some yarn this evening. The last thing that I'm going to show is actually, I'm going to do the Malibu shawl, which is a shawl by Jody Brown from the Grocery Girls podcast. And if you know her well, you know she likes a DK weight shawl. So she wrote this pattern. Here's what it looks like. It's got 3 different colors in it. And I like the fringy pieces. I like the fringy bits, okay? So there's a little bit of the light color that you use here, and then you use the rest for the fringe, and then you've got kind of your middle color, and you've got your dark color. Now, here's what I've got. And I don't, and part of this is going to be going into acquisitions. You remember I showed this. This is Texas Tea from Chicken Coop Dye Works. Okay, and then I went to my local yarn shop, Knit Two Together, the other day, and I was looking around and bought a yarn. I think this is a alpaca cotton nylon yarn, and this is called Creative DK, and it's this color. So I thought those two look good together. And then the last color that I have is another acquisition, and I want to talk a little bit more about this in detail. This is a colorway by Shipwrecked Sheep, okay, and it used to be called By the Bay Yarn Co., but Shipwrecked Sheep, and I'm going to show more about that in just a little bit, but we'll come back to it. It's called Won't Be Erased. And if you recognize that, that is the color of the transgender flag. And Won't Be Erased is a promise that we make as allies to all of our LGBTQ friends, that you are someone and your life is worthy and you are worthy and you will not be erased, no matter what anyone says. So I'm thinking, I'm going to putting those together. What do y'all think? I think that will work, don't y'all? Although I kind of don't want to use this for my fringe. I want this to be in the shawl more, so I may use this in the place of the light color, this, and then use this as the middle and this as the dark. What do y'all think? I think that will work, don't you? Yeah. So, to talk a little bit, just briefly, about the Shipwrecked Sheep yarn, let me find her card that she sent me here. It used to be Bayou City Yarn Company, and now it's Shipwrecked Sheep. She has an Etsy shop, I believe, but you can go to her webpage, shipwreckedsheep.com. This yarn, a portion of the proceeds, I want to say $5 a skein. She has a fingering, and then this is her Polwarth DK that I ordered. $5, I believe it's $5 a skein, but I may be wrong about that. Go to the Trevor Project. And the Trevor Project was founded in, actually wrote it down here, 1998. It's a crisis and suicide prevention hotline that's available 24/7 for LGBTQ youth. It was founded by some people who created the movie Trevor, which was about a transgendered youth, in 1994. And when it was going to be shown on HBO in 1998, the people went looking to see if there was a number they could put in case someone needed help. And they found that there was no crisis hotline. So they founded one. Yay. So it's been around for 20 years. And no telling how many lives it saved. And no telling how many more lives it will save. So I think it's a worthy cause. And some people who are very, very dear to me are transgender. And so in a small way, I feel like this supports that cause. So and you can still order. I contacted her, and she is still taking dyed to order ones, and then after that it will be available periodically in her shop updates. So if you're interested in supporting the Trevor Project, her yarn is very well priced. I believe the fingering is merino nylon, but this is 100% Polwarth. So, but it is superwash. So, but I wanted to try Polwarth, but I just wanted to support the cause regardless. So these are the colors I'm going to put together for that Malibu shawl. I think that will be pretty, don't y'all? And that is going to be living in my By the Bay Yarn Co. bag. This is one of her jumbo bags. Wonderful, wonderful bags. Great value for money. I talked about those on my East Texas Fiber Festival video, so you can go check those out. I don't need to tell you all about those all again. So that is going to be the Malibu shawl by Jody Brown. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, and I think that that is it right now for future crafting. So we're going to move on. That is all of the crafty goodness for this week. If you're not interested in acquisition or science or farm life or listening to my rambling thought at the end, although I think all that stuff's going to be good. I'm talking about the Mars lander in science. You might want to stick around. But if you don't, y'all have a good one. And if you do, let's move on to acquisitions. Okay, I have several acquisitions this week, and I feel very humbled by that because most of the acquisitions I have to show you this week are gifts. And I was talking with someone the other night, and I said, you know, I have never felt so valued and appreciated for who I am with all my quirks since I started doing this podcast. It let me find my people. And as a result of doing this podcast, I have met some wonderful people. I have made friends all over the world. And I just feel so fortunate and so honored and so humbled that these people see worth in me. So, having said that, without getting too verklempt, let me show you what I have gotten lately. Now, first of all, I won a prize at my local yarn shop, Yarn Crawl. Some of the yarns I've already given away, but I won these two skeins of blacker yarn. This is Falkland Islands wool DK. And I don't know what this colorway is. I said I was going to put my glasses on so I could see. But anyway, so this is some, excuse me, blah, blah, I can't talk, blacker yarns. And I have in mind a project for this to give as a gift for someone. I don't know if they watch this podcast, so I'm not going to say who. But then also, when I went to the yarn shop to pick up my prize, Stephanie gifted me some pins. She gave me one for myself, but she also gave me two to give away. And I love her little logo. I think the little animals on it are so cute. It's a little sheep. You can't tell flitter about it, can you? It's a little sheep and, well, it's two sheeps and a moose is what it looks like. So, sheep, two sheep and a moose. I can English. So, those are going to be going in prizes later on. So, y'all be on the lookout for those. Then, Rima, my student, I think I mentioned her last time, that came and got my earrings to repair them. She brought those back to me. And we had lunch and visited. I just adore her and her husband, Jordan. So, these are the earrings that she repaired for me. These really pretty chandelier ones. Okay, you can't tell much about them because I've got them back to back. But let me, there you go. And she has a quote in there that says, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." Winston Churchill. She puts quotes in the bottom of her boxes. So those are very precious to me. And I've worn them quite a lot, which is why they broke. Then she surprised me with a new gift. And this quote has, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent, Eleanor Roosevelt." Boy, don't I need to hear that all the time. And she made me some more earrings. And so I was very honored to get these beautiful chandelier earrings also. She's very talented. And she's a sweet, sweet person. So I'm very grateful that she thought enough of me to first be willing to fix those earrings and just say, too bad. Tough took us. You know, I'm not fixing those. So, anyway. Then I had mentioned that Heidi from Undead Yarns had sent me some minis. These are the other two minis that she sent. They're both beautiful blues. And so I think I'm going to put these aside for one of the advent calendar projects that people are talking about doing. I haven't started. I've been very good. I haven't opened my advent calendar yet, although I kind of opened one thing that accidentally fell out of the box and was like, it says open anytime on it. So these are the two minis, the other two minis that she sent me. So I'm looking forward to using those in something. She's Undead Yarns. And this is what fell out, and I squealed when I opened it. Laura, bless her pointed head, she's very, very generous and sweet, and I'm kind of overwhelmed by how kind she was. She sent me this. This is a Miss Babs, highly sought after. I know that booth at Rhinebeck had to have been swarming with people. This is Miss Babs. This is one of her Yowzas, and this is a Wild Iris colorway, and it's worsted. It's light worsted, but it's worsted weight, and it's a colorway called Purple People Eater. And it's got some cat hair on it. It's going to be, I'm going to use this to make the Barlow Road shawl out of, because the Barlow Road shawl takes 525 yards, and this is 560. So I'm going to knit it on a size smaller needle so I don't have to play yarn chicken. But is that not beautiful? That is so pretty. So thank you, Laura. I already said thank you in person, but I am so grateful for your kindness and generosity. You're a good person. Then I got to meet Jessica. Jessica is in the States visiting with her family, and she's normally in Germany. She's from the Army Wife Knitting Life podcast, and they were going to Branson, which is kind of a holiday destination in the Ozarks, and her family goes to Branson. And I said, which way are you going? Because I knew where they were at, and I knew where they were headed. I thought, bet y'all are coming right through the town where I work. And they were. So this past Monday, I was able to meet them for lunch. And she was sweet enough and brought me some Christmas yarn. Yay! This is a Regia yarn, and it is one of their self-patterning. There, you can see what it does. So I get to make myself some Christmas socks. Yay! I need to find a green mini, so maybe in my advent calendar there'll be a green mini that I can use for my heels, toes, and cuffs. So I'm excited about that. Then I did buy a few things we'll get to here in just a minute, but more gifts. I hosted the Progress Keeper and Stitch Marker Swap, and was very excited to pair everybody up. And I came home one day to a very sweet card from Miss Shirley in honor of Willie. And she sent me, even though I wasn't her buddy, she sent me some Stitch Markers and Progress Keepers. I was so excited. She sent me, there's a little cup, a little coffee cup. And then she sent me 2 Wonder Woman ones. You know I love those. 2 Wonder Womans. And then she sent some farm related ones. She sent the she sent me a kitty cat one. Oh, let me get a hold of it where you can see the pretty beadwork she did. She sent me the kitty cat and a puppy dog paw and a horse and a horseshoe. Let me turn him around where you can see him. A horse and a horseshoe. Oop, where's he at? There he is. And then a beautiful astronomy one. I'm calling it that because it's this beautiful crystal that looks like a star. Look at all that total internal reflection there. Ooh. But then she sent me a note, and in her note, well, in the note, in the card, she said, the light blue with the yellow, brown and red squiggles was a piece of my mother's jewelry. And that's it. And I don't even know what to say. I am so honored that she felt I was worthy of that. So that's gonna be a special one to me. So thank you, Shirley, for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Progress Keepers. I'm so tickled about those. I don't know what to say. You know, again, I feel so humbled and grateful that I've been able to say things that have resonated with people on here and make them feel good, and that I've gotten to know people. And I hope that I can continue to do that. I hope that I can continue to bring meaningful things to you every week, or every couple of weeks. It seems like it's been lately, but you know, I'm glad that people are finding some value and some comfort in this. Now, I also got some other gifts. I don't even know what to say about this. I got a package, an unexpected package in the mail. Make sure I got all my pieces here. I got an unexpected package in the mail from Antonia, my friend in England. And she just said, I wanted to send you an assortment of goodies for a while as a way of saying thank you for the time and effort and kindness. She sent me this beautiful postcard from Ireland. I knew she had gone to Ireland. She got the little washi tape with the kitty cats on it. She has been sewing, and she made me some beautiful tea towels. So this is the first one. Mid-century kitty cats. Is that not the cutest fabric? Some tea towels. And then she sent me this beautiful one of the horses. And she has little tags made, so I can always remember who made them for me. So pretty. Love that fabric. Then she made a little sandwich bag. This is a little reusable sandwich tote that you can carry things around in. So I love that fabric. But then, as if that wasn't all enough, inside the tote were some other prizes, some other things. This is a bath tea bag. Oh, that smells so good. And she sent me this beautiful magnet from Ireland. And then she knows how much I love Natal draw stuff. Natal has relocated to London, actually. So she sent me this beautiful Notions pouch with Natal's manatees and one of her little signature manatee logo charms on there. So, Antonia, I thanked you already, but I don't even know how to thank you enough for this. This is amazing and beautiful. And I'm so grateful for that. Then last but not least, I did a swap. No, it's not last. I've got one more. Next to last, and certainly not least, I did a swap with Maria. She had met me through Laura's Ravelry Group. And she said, would you like to do a swap? And I said, sure. Yeah. So she said, okay. We set up a limit and we set a date to do. And, you know, we said we would do, we'll do a goodie of food and some different things and then a skein of yarn. And oh my gosh, she nailed me to a T. I was blown away when I opened this. So first of all, the first thing she sent was this bag. And this alone blew me away. Is that not perfect? Women of Science. It's got Ada Lovelace, Marie Curie, Jane Goodall, Rosalind Franklin, Rita Levi Montalcini. I don't know who that is. I need to look that up. Shin Shung Wu, Maria Marion, Mae Jemison, and Rachel Carson. Some of these people I don't know who they are, so I'm going to have to go look them up. Is that not amazing? I love that. That is just, you could not have given me a more perfect bag. Then she made me a project bag, and is that not the coolest fabric ever? All these scientists. Is that not amazing? I think that this is the fabric. These designs are Megan Lee designs. They look like her designs. But she made this bag for me and then she lined it with star fabric. I love this. So that's amazing. But then that wasn't even it. She sent me this amazing book, Women in Science, 50 Fearless Women and Warriors Who Changed the World. And it's got some biographies of all these different people. And I love I've seen this book and have coveted it for a long time. So she knew exactly what to send me. It was just perfect. All different kinds of scientists. I can't wait to, oh, there's Chen Shung Wu. I knew she was an experimental physicist, so there she is. Okay. She won the National Medal of Science. She's never won a Nobel Prize. Maybe we need to do something about that, y'all. But anyway, I love this book. And that still wasn't all. She sent me this gorgeous skein of yarn. This is yarn by Retold Yarns. And this is, I believe this is yarn that is from recycled materials. And this is a color called You Can't Take the Sky From Me. Oh my gosh. I'm about to cry now. Thinking about it. And heck wasn't it either. Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. I was just squealing like a kid. Where she found these progress keepers and charms, I don't have a clue. This is a periodic table. It's a helium. And then a DNA helix. Oh, don't drop helium. Helium, you're supposed to be lighter than air. Why didn't you float? A little flat Erlenmeyer flask. A molecule. I don't know what this is, but I suspect it kind of looks like it might be caffeine. Lord knows I'd live on that half the time. This one is amazing. It's a little microscope. And then last but not least, Saturn. I was blown away by that. Y'all, I mean, I can never repay all the kindness that I've been shown. The things that Mary has sent me, the things that Laura has sent me, the patterns that everybody has given me, the kind words, the tea towels, the yarn, I can never say thank you enough to everybody who has been so good to me as a result of me deciding I needed to babble about things. I'm so grateful, y'all. My friend Sasha brought me some yarn. Her mother was at a thrift store in Michigan, and she found some yarn in the thrift store, and it was like $1 a skein. It's all commercial yarn, but oh my goodness, it will be perfect for some charity knitting and some dog coats. So I'm actually crocheting. I didn't show it because I've just barely started it, but I'm making some doggy coats for Willie and for Smiley because they're cold. Sasha gave me all this bag. There's just tons of it in this bag. She brought me all this to use for whatever I wanted. So some of it's going to be for charity hats. Some of it's going to be for the doggy. Some of it's going to be for... This is adorable. Isn't that cute? So I'm going to make myself a hat probably. Who knows what it'll be. But I just am so grateful that she thought of me. You know what? I'm not going to bother showing you this other little bit of stuff that I've got because well, I do want to show the one thing. I bought some Christmas fabric to make some Christmas project bags out of, so I will show that really quickly. I am going to be doing a Grant Your Yarn Wish from Missy, who is one of the members of our virtual knit night also. And she wanted a Christmas sock bag, so I need to get that made up for her. But I bought these little fabrics to make some Christmas project bags and then some other project bags. These are just some little fat quarters that I picked up. I thought these two would look really cute together as a project bag. And then I've got lots of doggy fabric, and then the little birds were just cute. And then today I bought the Christmas doggies and the snowmen, and I thought those would make cute project bags. So I need to make Missy one too. I've kind of got in mind which fabric, and then I bought these to go with those two Christmas fabrics. So probably put the candy canes with the doggies and put the green with the snowmen. Anyway, yeah, I've talked a long time about stuff, so I want to move on. But anyway, oh my goodness, y'all. I don't know what to say. I just, again, I can never say thank you enough to all the kind things people have done for me. You know, it leaves me speechless, which is strange because I'm big mouth. But thank you so much to everyone who's been so kind to me. So now we're going to move on and talk about science. Okay, so what's going on in science? Before we get to the big, exciting, obvious thing that I already mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm really proud of my students, some of my former students, and the things that they have accomplished. And this week, it seemed like there was just a overwhelming amount of wonderful things that I was seeing coming from both my current students who did their in-class presentations this week, and most of them were just fabulous, and my former students, both still at the university, but also who have gone on to do some wonderful things. What made me think about this is I was looking at, I have mentioned the Planet Plastic National Geographic article. Several podcasters spoke about that, and I came across an article that one of my former students, who is now at Harvard in graduate school, wrote about our plastic society and the impact of plastic on the planet, and why, he talks specifically, Jordan Wilkerson, he talks specifically about how these ocean garbage patches have formed and really the huge problem that they are. So I'm going to link his article in the note, and I'm going to do a better job about my show notes. I realize I've been a little bit lazy the last couple of times, but I'm going to try to sit down and really get those together tonight or tomorrow when this goes up. Then I had another student, Brandon. He is at Duke, I believe. He was going to Queens College, but then also decided to go to Duke in sort of public science through medical school, through medicine. So a public scientist or public forum science or public literacy about science. And he wrote a great article about judging the value of a link you see posted as to whether or not it's scientifically valid. So a wonderful science literacy article that I'm actually going to use from now on in my cadre of articles that I have my students read about science literacy. It goes through sort of a checklist, which to some people may seem like common sense, but the people on these websites that are full of BS are getting smarter about how they package things, so it's not so easy to tell the validity of some of their sources. So I'm going to link his article below too. Then I got a great email from one of my former research students, Tristan. He is actually in Panama working with the Peace Corps. We had visited after he graduated about what he ultimately wanted to do, and he said, I want to make people's lives better. So I helped him get his stuff together. He was an AmeriCorps volunteer for a while up in a local, on top of a local mountain. He wasn't in the state park, but he was working for an agricultural project through the Episcopalian church camp that was up there, and did some wonderful, wonderful work up there with the gardens. And now he ended up going to Michigan State, I believe it's Michigan State, getting his engineering master's degree. And part of his master's thesis is going to be working on the water quality systems of a city in Panama. And he said the city is actually fairly sizable. It has 2,500 people, or the town is fairly sizable. And they're working on their water systems. He wants to make accessible, let more people in the world have accessibility to clean, safe drinking water. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful calling. So I got a wonderful email from him, and I'm very proud of him. Another student that's actually still at the university, but I'm so proud of him speaking up and speaking out about different science literacy and also LGBT topics, is Mason. It's not easy to be different in Arkansas. It's not easy to be different in the South, whether that's, politically different or, a minority in some way, or LGBT or whatever, or LGBTQ in some way. And it's hard. It's hard to, you know, it's hard to be what, and we talked about, somebody and I were talking about what is normal the other day. We were talking, well, actually it was when Jessica came and talked, did a follow-up with my students about the Surface Learning Project. And she said, you know, people say these kids aren't normal, but who decides what's normal? Who decides what the norm is? And I would rather not be normal, to be quite honest. But I'm proud of Mason for being brave and speaking up about science, the importance of science. And, you know, I'm proud of him for doing that. I'm proud of him for taking a stand about both social issues and scientific issues. He probably doesn't watch this, but if you watch this, if any of y'all watch this, I'm really proud of y'all. But anyway, so we're going to go on and talk about the big thing that happened this week, and we landed the InSight lander on the planet Mars. Yay! I was in the office, my department chair's office, when they had touchdown, and I jumped up and down and clapped and squealed. It was so exciting. The InSight lander is not a rover. It is a stationary lander, but what they're doing with it is it's going to actually explore below the surface of Mars. So its actual name is the Interior Exploration Using Seismic Investigations, Geodesy, and Heat Transport Geophysical Monitoring Station. So that's why they call it InSight. Because they are trying to figure out what's going on with the geology of Mars under the surface. They're doing some things to see how geologically active Mars still is. They're also trying to determine how much water might be below the surface. They're also looking at how heat flows in the structure of Mars. So this probe was launched about 6 months ago. It launched on May the 5th, and it landed this past Monday on Mars. I believe it was this past Monday. Let me double check that. Should have worn my glasses, huh? 26th, yeah. Okay. It landed this past Monday on Mars, and its duty cycle is supposed to be for 728 days, Earth days. Okay. And already they're starting to get telemetry back from it. There were some smaller CubeSats that landed with it also. There's a picture of what the whole setup looks like. This is inside, and then these are the little CubeSats that landed with it, but you see it's got solar panels there and stuff. So I was going to talk a little bit about what they were trying to do with it. One of the things that's on it is a seismometer. They're wanting to measure and to see if how many Mars quakes there still are to detect the geological activity still happening on Mars. Mars clearly had geological activity at one point because it has the largest volcano in the solar system on it, in Olympus Mons. Olympus Mons is 12 miles tall, and if you sat it over the desert Southwest, it would cover up most of Arizona. So it's big. And then there is a chain of 3 smaller but still huge by Earth standards volcanoes just below where Olympus Mons is. So they're wanting to learn more about the structure or the geological activity or the tectonic activity on Mars. They're also trying to take radar soundings to figure out the structure of the interior of the planet. You know, like our Earth has what we believe to be a solid, very dense inner core, and then a liquid outer core, and then we have the mantle over that, which is a flexible solid. I hesitate to use the word plastic, but plastic is a flexible solid, but it's not plastic. There's not a bunch of Tupperware underneath the surface of the Earth, but it's a flexible solid, like silly putty. It's kind of like that's a flexible solid. And then you have the brittle lithosphere, which is what the crust rides around on. So I talk about it being like, if you go get soft serve ice cream and then you put magic shell over it, that's basically the mantle and the lithospheric and the crust. And the proportions are similar. The crust is very, very, very thin compared to the mantle. But anyway, so back on Mars, they're trying to figure out the model of its structure to figure out, does it have any liquid portion underneath it? It doesn't have a very strong magnetic field, so that means it probably doesn't have much of a liquid structure inside. And then also looking at heat flow throughout the planet in the lower layers, because that's why we have geological activity. Is there's a lot of heat trapped in the center of the planet that's working its way out, and that convective heat flow causes the plate tectonics. And this will give us a better understanding of all of our terrestrial planets, which is pretty cool. If you want to know more, like, there's some really great shows. I've mentioned the SciShow channel before, but there's also SciShow Space. SciShow Space is a little short. They do like news roundup videos, and they do little short, very easily digestible, understandable videos almost every day. So does SciShow. So I'm going to link both of those if you want to go learn more about this. It was late in launching by a couple of years, and it kind of scared me because I didn't think they were going to make it happen, but they actually reused some technology from a different mission that actually worked better than what they had. The journey out took about 6.5 months, and this thing flew a total of 301 million miles, or 484 million kilometers, to get to the surface of Mars for touchdown on the 26th. And then once it lands, it doesn't immediately roll out all of its instruments. It rolls them out over about a 2-month period to make sure everything is working right. And so far, everything's been working like it's supposed to. And so, you know, I'm excited to see what we end up learning from this mission, because it may tell us more about our own planet, you know. And I was talking with my students the other day about the value of curiosity-based research, and how, or actually no, I was at the state park the other day. I did a couple of things this week. I wrote a grant or an award application. Miss Betsy and I got together yesterday and wrote the award application for Adkins for the curriculum award for the project we're doing with the GT program this year. And then that afternoon, I had been asked to write a letter of support for the Owls program that I both volunteer for and teach for by Sasha, who is the interpreter at Lake Dardanelle State Park. Well, the assistant superintendent, Dallas, came in, and he has known me for a long time because he used to be the ranger out there, and he would come and help me with my STAR programs. And we were talking about the value of curiosity-based research. And, you know, I understand that to some people it may seem that going to Mars or the Large Hadron Collider or, you know, saving the whales or whatever, it may seem a waste of money to some people. But in my opinion, it's not. Because number one, those things matter. They may not matter immediately to my checkbook or to my keeping the lights on in my house or whatever, but curiosity-driven research also drives technology. And there are so many technological advances that happen because of that become available to the public. Plus, you never know where undirected research may lead. I keep referring back to The West Wing, but there was a great episode of The West Wing called Galileo, where they had sent a probe to Mars, and Sam Seaborn was saying, you know, this is why, somebody was questioning him as to why we had to go to Mars. We'd already been to the moon. And he said, because it's what's next. We came out of the cave and we went over this hill and we saw fire. And we are explorers by nature. And the human beings are explorers and curious by nature. And I think that that's how we make ourselves great as a people, is we are curious and we explore and we advance and we understand and we stand in awe of nature and of the universe, and that's what makes us great as a people, or as humans. But the other side of that is, who knows what new technologies come out of these things. There are technologies that came out of the space program that we still use: cell phones, microwaves, Velcro. You know, infrared technology to detect breast cancer that's a direct result of developing an infrared spectrometer for a telescope. You know, who knows where undirected research might lead, as another episode of The West Wing talks about, where Ellie, President Bartlett's daughter, is talking about why her research on sex workers and the STDs of sex workers actually matters to other people, when on the face of it, you're like, who cares about that? I don't care. Well, you don't know what discoveries will be made from undirected research, and that's the whole point of it. So, of course, I'm pro-science, obviously. I saw a really funny joke the other day that says, I'm pro science, or I support science. And it said, you could say I'm pro, and then it had, or you could say I'm, and it, or no, I said, I support farming. Sorry. I support farming. And then it had a protractor. It says, I'm protractor. That's a science joke. I love that stuff. Anyway, and people don't like my science jokes so much, but anyway, anyhow, I think that we are a curious species, and we should stay curious, and that stuff matters, and so I think that's important. So that's our science segment for this tank. I'm going to link the NASA link to the InSight mission down below so that you can go explore and learn more about the InSight mission. I'm also going to link SciShow and SciShow Space YouTube channel down there too, because they're very fun and you should check them out. So now we're going to move on and talk about farm life. Okay, so in the farm, there's been a lot going on. I got quite a bit done. Oh, Feathers is in here rundling around again this week. She came in when I opened the door. I got quite a bit done the last 2 weeks. Like I said, I'm starting to kind of dig out of my funk, which is good. I actually did quite a bit of pasture mowing this past week. And what it made me realize is I need to get a chainsaw. I've got a lot of thorn trees growing up on my place, and I need to get those taken care of. But I got quite a bit of mowing done this week. Pastures are looking a lot better. I've still got quite a bit more to do, but at least it's a start, so I'm happy with that. I got a new baby calf. People were asking, isn't this the wrong time of year to have baby calves? And while, yes, it's cold, there's plenty of hay piles for them to lay in, and I would rather have baby calves born this time of year than have them born in the spring and the summer when you've got danger of fly strike. You can't fight the flies off of them very easily in the spring and the summer. So if they're born in the wintertime, you have much less risk of that happening. So I'm okay with my calves being born this time of year. Mama keeps them warm. There's plenty of cedar trees and cedar thickets for them to get in. There's plenty of hay piles for them to lay in. When I put my hay out, if I don't completely roll the bale out, I sit it up on its end so it can't be rolled and hurt them. So I did get in my bees and work my bees. Again, I put in a winter patty, feeding patty. I filled up my beetle traps. I did lose a hive. One of my nukes that I got in the spring, I guess, just wasn't strong enough to make it. And so, and funnily enough, it was in the same place, in the same location that I lost another hive. So I think I'm going to move where I put them the next time. But the other 4 look really good. Although we had a huge windy day here the other day, and it blew the top off of one of my hives. So I hope that hive didn't get too cold. They seem to have enough stores. I didn't actually harvest any honey. I'm going to let the honey go until springtime after the dearth is over, and then harvest some. Funnily enough, the other day, you know, I've talked about my porch possum. I looked outside the other night. There's not a porch possum. There were 3 porch possums. I think one of them is Mama and 2 youngsters, because one of them was significantly larger than the other, and they were all pretty close together and were getting along. So, so I think that is that's what's going on there. But yeah, it was a good couple of weeks. You know, it was bitterly cold here for a few days. It was getting down into the 20s at night, which is actually pretty cold for here. It's warm today, and that worries me because it's warm and sticky, and that means we're going to get bombarded, I think, later tonight with some storms. I've been going over, I went over and helped with the horses last week with practice, and then with riding lessons. We canceled today because these storms are coming, and then also there's been some silliness going on with the horses over there. There's been some herd dominance shakeups going on, and a couple of horses have been running through the fence, and Marianne was just incredibly exhausted. So I just didn't feel like asking her to do that, to deal with that. So we canceled today. We've got practice. I'm actually riding as a substitute rider tomorrow for one of the kids in our drill team practice. I had Thanksgiving both with her family and also my friend Cassie. Miss Marianne's family had their Thanksgiving on Saturday after, and then Cassie's granddad, who, you know, she lost her grandmother back in the spring, they had food up at what they call the big house, which is like kind of the family gathering place, and I went there on actual Thanksgiving Day and visited with her. You know, it's hard. That first holiday after you lose someone that's that integral to the family is always difficult. But it was good. I'm glad that I went to see her, and of course I enjoyed very much being with Miss Marianne. Her brother is doing quite a bit better, although he's still not 100%. So the barn people have been kind of pulling together, helping that go. Eleanor had some good rides on Bo. I'm probably going to bring Gusty and Flame home for a little bit over the holidays, and I'm going to leave Bo over there. And Marianne talked about just me and her having some horse days. Since we do so much for the kids, we don't really get that much horse time, and we're both missing it a lot. So I'm ready for that period of time. But that's pretty much been what's been going on. We just, you know, we had that huge windstorm and it blew a tree down. I actually was outside and heard it fall. And the way it echoed, it sounded like it was in my pasture. Well, I walked around and didn't see anything. And then a little bit later, one of my neighbors drove up and said, there's a tree down, you know, down the road here. And I thought, oh gosh, I hope it hadn't hit the fence. And it was amazing. It was outside the fence. It fell away from the fence. It was just didn't touch my fence, but it was huge. It was a big tree. And I had messaged a couple of people, so I guess they came and cut it up for firewood. But we had like 30-mile-an-hour, 40-mile-an-hour winds here for about 9 hours the other day. And it was pretty rough. I blew the tarp off one of the chicken coops. Had to put that back up. So I did lose a barn kitty, unfortunately. I think it was one of my older ones. I didn't see any obvious injuries or anything on it. It wasn't on a cold night. You know, sometimes they just get old. I mean, but I don't know if maybe something else had hurt it and it just ended up going to sleep by the house and dying or what. It was kind of sad. I always don't like to lose any animals. Even my barn kitties matter to me. They follow me everywhere. I have to be careful because if I don't feed them before I go feed the cows, they'll follow me on the tractor, and I don't want them out in the road and getting hurt. So, I found a really neat piece that I wanted to read to you about farm life, because it kind of leads into my idea of final thoughts about reframing your thinking. It says, quite regularly someone seems to say to me, oh, but doesn't that farm and all those animals really tie you down? Why, yes, they do. They tie me to starting my day when the sun rises and ending it well after the sun sets. But it means I always get to see them both. They tie me to the rhythm of the seasons, the might of the winter blizzard, the first spring breeze carrying the scent of rain, the towering glory of a summer thunderstorm, and the fall of leaves from the poplar trees. They tie me to concentrating on the chores that need to be done right now, not the regrets of yesterday, nor the worries for tomorrow. This farm and all these animals keep me tied down to the earth when the rest of the universe tries to flip me upside down. And so I would much rather be tied down here than set adrift in the tumultuous sea that I see so many others in. I find this mooring rather to my liking. It's all about framing your thinking in a positive way. So that's going to lead me to my final thoughts. Okay, y'all. I appreciate, like I said, I so appreciate everybody who's reached out. I appreciate those of you who were a little concerned about how I was feeling kind of down and blue and everything. And I so am grateful. I'm feeling better about things. I'm feeling better physically and mentally. And a lot of it is you have to change your thinking. So I'm a big fan of Dawn French. If you don't know who she is an actress. She's a British actress, and she's a part of the comedy duo French and Saunders. And among other things, one thing that she's very, very well known for is she was on the Britcom, The Vicar of Dibley, which I loved that show. I used to watch that all the time. I loved Vicar of Dibley for a lot of reasons, but I just loved her, and she's very funny. Well, she turned 60 last year, and she wrote a book, and she framed it sort of following the seasons, and she wrote pieces about life of each season, and then she wrote pieces about each month. And I think listening to her is kind of what inspired my Farmer's Almanac Makealong. Yes. And I was listening to an interview with her, or watching an interview with her on YouTube, and she read this poem, and it really made an impact on me. It's just 3 little lines. I moved my chair into sun. I sat in the sun, the way hunger is moved when called fasting. It's about reframing your thinking. She was saying, instead of, oh, I'm so tired, oh, I'm tired because I had a really great day and I got so much accomplished. I'm so glad. I'm so busy. I've got all these things that I love to do around me, and I love doing them, so I'm glad that I'm busy. I think that's a valuable, valuable lesson, because sometimes we can let ourselves go down a pretty dark hole of negative thinking. So I'm going to work on trying to reframe my thinking and give my thought purpose, my actions, you know, find the purpose in my actions, and the purpose in my tired, and the purpose in my busy. I don't want to just be busy to be busy. I want to be busy purposefully. So I'm going to move my chair into sun. And so I hope with that final thought, I hope that y'all are all doing good. I hope that you're taking care of each other and being good to each other, and that you're meeting your crafting goals. So until we meet again, y'all be good to each other. Y'all take care of each other. Are you cold, Willie? Do I need to finish your coat? I need to finish his coat. He's a little cold, I guess. And sleepy. So until I see y'all again, y'all. Peace out, y'all. Bye. You need a nap? Okay. Bye.